Coming to you live from my apartment. It's Rob Has a Podcast. And now here's the guy who is just about ready to see James win the America's favorite player this season, rightfully this time. I'm Rob Sister. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of Rob's Podcast. Special for a couple of reasons. One, I'm so happy to be back here in the studio. So happy to be home talking about Big Brother. We've got a great show, first show for you guys back here in the studio because we are joined by the man who should have won America's favorite player last season. And here he is to talk about everything going on. Welcome, Johnny MacGyver.
Johnny nice. promoted to MacGyver status. I gotta find my way out of this room if I'm gonna claim the title though.
Yes, Johnny
There's
Mac.
a door right there though. I could just walk out of.
Oh boy! If you could have gotten everybody feeling bad for you last year, then maybe you could have been able to beat out James.
Yeah, I don't have any kids or anything though. I can't. Student loans.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm so excited to have you back here on the show. Always fun to have you on to talk through everything, and a lot to discuss tonight because I felt like this was really the night where the edit threw Natalie under the bus. That cat ladies all around the world disavow Natalie. We're sorry we gave her the slop pass. She's a horrible person. At least that's how I saw it. And of course, to help fill in all the gaps between what I know and what actually happened, Alex Kidwell is here. Alex, how are you?
Hey, Rob. It's day 85 in the Big Brother house, and for the first time all summer, it seems like we got an episode that paints Corey as some kind of person that's in the Big Brother house this summer.
Yeah, and maybe somebody's going to win the game. So
yeah.
A lot to talk about here tonight. Of course, we're back live. Hashtag RHAP is the way to get your questions into the show, or also on our YouTube channel at robhasawebsite.com/YouTube. Of course, eviction show coming up tomorrow night. We'll talk about all that and much more, 10:15 p.m. Eastern time. First off, Johnny Mac, how have you been? How's your summer?
Summer's been awesome. I've just been working and working. And recently I went to Hearts of Reality thing down in Florida. That was fun. And then a couple weekends ago, I ran a Tough Mudder. That was a good time. So, yeah, just a little bit of everything there.
How was Hearts of Reality? I know there's probably a bunch of good stories that you can't tell us. I know that a bunch of survivors and Big Brother people go out there. Any stories you can tell us?
I mean, it's a pretty tame event. We all just got around and played Jenga, and sometimes people got a little heated in the moment there, but that's about as wild as it got.
Okay.
It's cool. You get to visit the Give Kids the World Village and actually see the families there. So what it is they bring kids with possible terminal illnesses. They don't all end terminally. A lot of them live on to have full lives, but pretty serious diseases. They bring the families down for a week to just go to Disney, stuff like that, hang out at the hotel, which is pretty nice for them. And where the reality stars came in, we just went and did an event signing for people that just wanted autographs and just to get pictures and stuff. And then all that money went to the charity. So yeah, it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, they do a great job. You can Google Hearts of Reality, Give Kids the World for more information. They always have a big event every summer, have a ton of Survivor and Big Brother and Amazing Race people out there every year. So good event, and I always hear good things about it. So Johnny Mac, all right, we got to talk about this. This was really an episode all about the downfall, the breakup of sorts between James and Natalie. And for me, I'm hoping that you can help me make sense of all this stuff because I'm left with either one of two things with both of them. With Natalie, I'm wondering just how authentic she is and has she been with everything related to James this season, because tonight I did feel like that I don't know if I can trust her anymore because I thought she told the biggest lie of the season here tonight in the episode when she said, when she said,
MacGyver, not only is he pretty cute, it looks like such a good show.
Yeah. Not only is MacGyver cute, it's also such a good show.
I don't think she saw the show.
I don't know. Believe me, Natalie is not watching one damn second of MacGyver ever. The old one or the new one.
And how guilty is or how bad is James gonna feel like 10 years from now when he's like, man, I'd use my speech to advertise MacGyver.
Oh, come on, James, stop it. You're gonna use your time. They should automatically evict him using his veto speech. Just like, make sure you watch MacGyver Friday nights on CBS. But also, come on, James, stop it. Can you take the game seriously?
Voice just comes over, is like, there's no being a shill. You're gonna have to leave.
Yes, stop it. All right, so here's what let me go back to being serious. Okay, so for Natalie, how do I trust her when she says, okay, I want James, he's my soulmate, he's my best friend, but then at the same time is kind of throwing him under the bus, is saying to him like, oh yeah, I was kissing your picture before when you weren't around. I won't kiss you, but I'll kiss your picture. And also, if you work with Corey and Nicole after I get voted out, then I'll never talk to you again. Just seems like giving herself a lot of outs. And then also on the other side of things, not to, not pick on James a little bit, Johnny Mac, I have to wonder myself, is James an actor as well? Does James throw a pity party for himself in the Big Brother house when he walks around with his sad sack story of, I guess then, is he going for that? We've talked about all season long. James wants to win America's favorite player. That's winning the game for him. When Natalie is saying that she won't talk to him, is what? I can't believe it. What? You're not going to talk to me? Like, I would never do that. It doesn't seem to me that he's going to say, okay, let me try to throw her under the bus. It just seems like that he is just trying to make everybody feel bad for him. And I don't care for this pity strategy, which is not to win the game, but is to win America's favorite player.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like James would be better suited for like Real World or like a drama show that's specifically relationship focused. Maybe The Bachelor even. Maybe he could be the next Bachelor, and he would love that. That would be his kind of show for real. At least what we're seeing on the TV is a lot more relationship centered than actually trying to win the game. And every now and then he throws in a quick line like, "Oh, I'm here for $500,000." I heard him say that for the first time in this episode tonight. I'm like, James, really? Is that how you really feel? I'm not sure. That seemed a little forced. I'm not convinced yet.
Yeah. Well, you spent a good chunk of last summer with James. Do you feel like, is he any different this year, or is this the same exact guy that you lived with last year?
James is different this year. I mean, last year,
how?
I don't know if it's in the way you're expecting, but he is different. Like last year, he didn't really know a whole lot about the game beforehand. He had probably seen a couple seasons before going in there. I know he applied because he knew it was a reality show, and then he probably schooled himself like a lot of recruits do. And he was just kind of in there having a good time. You know, every now and then he tried to be like dominant and win a competition to feed that male ego we all have. But this year, he seems to be more aware of what worked for him last year, if that makes sense. So he's trying to do it more. And that's the difference. It's just like he's aware of how he was not aware last year.
Yeah. Double down.
Makes sense?
That's Texas code. Double down.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he did pick something up last summer that it seemed like he's almost trying to run the Clelly playbook in that, hey, I'm up on the block. Let me take the fall on the sword for my in-the-house relationship. Let me quit the game right now. Did you feel like in your mind, was James trying to quit to save Natalie?
Oh, he was success kidding so hard at that point. He was like, yes, oh man, America's loving this right
now.
Well, in the back of his head.
What does he want? I don't know what his intention to say, okay, I'm going to look chivalrous in the eyes of America, and then I will clinch winning America's favorite player if I do this? Or is he so love struck that, okay, Natalie is telling him that we'll be together after the show, and does he actually feel bad? Or I'm not going to say the third thing where it's actually where he thinks it's good strategy. So it's either he's trying to play America to vote for him for America's favorite player, and okay, pity me because I'm such a sad sack, good guy, or is it that he is completely just a puppy dog to Natalie and wants just her to go on, and because he quote unquote feels bad about the decision to keep Corey in the house?
I want to say it's a little bit of both. I don't know if it would be 100% one way, because like if you look at it, if he knew 100% that what he was saying was getting him in trouble with America, he wouldn't be saying it. So he knows that at least in his mind, he feels like it's going to make him look good.
Well, how do you mean getting him in trouble with America?
Like, okay, like said. Everyone knows saying something completely racist on there is going to get you in trouble with America. He knows you avoid saying that kind of stuff.
That's so bad.
Like,
very frowned upon.
If there was like an alternate negative universe where saying these kinds of things was just going to get you a bad portrayal, I don't think he would be saying them.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, like James probably wants a lady, or like really bad, like more than he wants the money, and that's probably something he really wants. He probably wants the girl more than the money. So I think that's legit.
James does love the ladies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Alex, can you help fill in some of the gaps in the show from tonight? How fairly do you feel like things were depicted in the James and Natalie saga?
Not particularly fairly. There was really 3 ways they could have gone with this, and none of them were going to be accurate. They could have tried to pretend that, there's nothing wrong here, or they were going to, bury one of them, basically, because this thing has kind of begun to fall apart a little bit, and it's definitely on both sides. Like, they're definitely both doing things that could be shown in an edit to make them look unfavorable. They just chose Natalie's. They chose to show Natalie saying, "I'll never work with you again or I'll never talk to you again if you work with Nicole and Corey." They didn't show her like coming afterwards and saying how sorry she was and how that's not something she ever wanted to say, and it was the heat of the moment and she didn't mean it. And also they don't show, like James, like, let me tell you what James's classic move is. James will like get in like something that you can't even really call a fight with Natalie. Like they have like a minor disagreement, and he'll like just kind of like emo passive aggressively like walk out of the room, and he'll say to Victor like, "Oh, me and Natalie are fighting right now," and then he'll say to Paul like, "Oh, Natalie and I are in a fight," and then he'll tell Nicole and Corey like, "Hey, Natalie and I are fighting," and then he'll go back to Natalie and say like,
women,
everyone in the house can feel the weird vibe in here. It's like, no, they can't. You just told them there was a problem. They had no clue and they didn't care. It's so ridiculous.
Fake relationship, right?
James, like he does it to himself. I'm sorry. There's a lot of this that like, and there's a lot of just like passive aggressive needling that they don't show, where he's just like saying things like that. Will we still be friends after this? Like, will you even talk to me? Like, just questioning her a lot this week, and you can tell it comes from a place of insecurity. But it's like, dude, if you want a relationship to work, you can't like bring your baggage from the last time you got burned to the table, right?
Yeah. To be fair, though, most of my conversations with my wife are you mad? Are you mad at me? Are you still talking to me? Are we are we still friends right now?
I mean, yeah,
you're committed at that point.
Yeah.
There's a degree of damage control to be done and all that, but like, like in this situation, like he takes it too far. It's really all the time, and it's not like. You don't see it being particularly healthy from either side. So, like, I'm going to end up probably sounding very pro-Natalie tonight just because the edit really buried her, and it really is something that could have gone either way, in my estimation.
Yeah. Johnny Mac, how much of the feeds did you get to see?
Not that often. Not recently in the past couple weeks because I've just been busy with a lot of things. But like towards the beginning, I was seeing a lot of it. Towards the beginning, I was watching a lot when there were a lot of people in the house, and so I saw their relationship a bit back then, but not so much the recent weeks.
Yeah.
Well, the recent weeks have been, like basically this past week, like the story of the season is like James and Natalie, or James at least, catches feelings, and then there's no feelings, and now there's feelings again, and how do we feel about these feelings?
Yeah. And I'm also pro Natalie in all of these discussions because I feel like at least she's trying to win the game. Like, I don't care who she dates after the show is over or what happens with the relationship when they're out of the house. I'll leave that for other people to worry about, whether or not they'll get a reality show or go on The Amazing Race or anything that potentially could happen outside the game. But at least Natalie is like trying to pull out all the stops, and I like that.
Yeah, she went and threw him under the bus, which is good gameplay. If you want to say, I mean, it kind of didn't work for her. It actually got them all a little bit more paranoid of her that she's actually trying to play over James. But at least she had the right idea.
Yeah,
this conversation is a good moment to really touch on here, because this is like a microcosm to me of where like there's such a conundrum surrounding Natalie in the greater Big Brother community. Like, is she manipulating and playing James and being conniving versus like, is she just like an innocent girl caught up in a game? And obviously, like, everyone's got an opinion on it, and the real answer is surely somewhere in between, like with all things. But it is, it's moments like these where, she did go up and say these things, and then later she'll have a conversation with James, and say, like, I have never thrown your name under the bus. If I did, I'm sorry, but I've never done that. And, people wonder, like, is she just saying that versus, like, maybe she really doesn't remember? You know what I mean? It's really hard to know something like that for sure.
My big issue with Natalie is that I think that she is a better game player than we gave her credit for initially. My issue is always when people lie in the diary room. I think she's a big phony baloney in the diary room, and I think she's lying to us about her feelings for James. She sort of leads us on and leads James on, but I don't have an issue with her leading James on if she'd be honest with us in the diary room about, like, look, James is, a nice guy, good friend, but that's it. That's it. Come on now. Stop it. But Jim, she's like, oh, I kissed your picture. And is like, okay, oh yeah, you're my soulmate and stuff like that. And then tries to throw out all these other things with like, okay, well, if I was gonna date you, but then because you didn't do X, Y, Z, now we can't date, and it's your fault that this happened. Otherwise, I was totally willing to do it. She's just not honest with us, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, it's definitely because, like, you look at every other showmance that happened this season and what they've done in the house versus what James and Natalie have done. They haven't even, like, made out under the covers or something. Something like that. Look, it's not real.
This is the smoking gun.
Look, Iris, not only is he pretty cute, it looks like such a good show.
Yes.
I will say, like, let me just add in fairness that, and again, it's maybe as much playing devil's advocate as anything, but I feel like I'm going to be doing that a lot tonight because, like I said, like, everything is pro James right now. So, like, now I feel like I have to kind of balance the scales a bit. But, like, it's very possible that Natalie was at least somewhat attractive to James initially. Like, even if just, like, I want to explore this thing and see what it is.
He lost her.
Like, once you start the America's Care Package stuff, why would she go in the diary room and talk about how she's playing the guy that everyone thinks is America's sweetheart? You know what I mean? Like, you almost can't at that point. You're almost stuck in a position where, like, oh, well, this is working for me. She got the first care package. Like, that's the problem with these care packages and these twists that are, like, fan voted on. It's like it creates an added, like, fourth layer to the game where now you have to think about what people are thinking about you thinking. It's just too much.
Yeah,
man.
but that's such a perfect storm, and you make valid points there. But you basically what you're trying to triangulate is that she did have feelings for James, and then there came a point that the America's Care Package started. She got reassurance that James was a very popular player in the house. She was also popular in the house. Then at some time after that, she fell out of favor or she fell out of love with James somewhere along the way. I mean, that is a very specific yet not impossible timeline of events.
Yeah. And then also, I've even been critical of the complete lack of physical relationship, but honestly, like, she is on national television, like, maybe that's just something she adamantly decided she wasn't going to do. I mean, we don't know we do know that her and Victor were cuddling the first week, but we don't know what that looked like because we didn't have feeds. So that's a bit of a big kind of foggy area in all this, I think.
I present to you Exhibit B. The woman was a professional cheerleader for the New York Jets. It's impossible to muster up real enthusiasm for this organization. That is impossible. You have to be a phony baloney to be a cheerleader for the New York Jets, Johnny Mac. There's very little to cheer about.
They have a cool name.
The New York
Flight
Jets?
Crew, right?
Yeah, the flight crew. That's right.
Yeah, they're the
Right.
flight
Very,
crew.
very tough to muster actual enthusiasm.
I'll
New York
have to concede that point to you, Rob. You would definitely know better than me.
She's like, wow, these Jets look as good as this new MacGyver that's coming out. I can't wait to see both of them this fall on CBS. Wow.
Jets and MacGyver.
Yeah.
All season long.
Yes, wow. The Jets are going to be on this this upcoming Thursday, and then MacGyver next Friday on CBS. Wow.
That's right.
No, but again, I'm rooting for the person to be a player to win the game. So we'll see. Johnny Mac, I'd love to know from you that I know you put a lot of forethought into how you were going to play coming into the game. The idea of a showmance, was that something that you said to yourself that I'm never going to even explore that, even if there's somebody in the house that I like, or is it something that it just didn't come up in Big Brother 17, but hypothetically you might be open to?
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways to look at it there. I mean, it's been used well, and avoiding it has been used well. Going into the game, I was like, some of my favorite players were like Dan, you know, and Dan never got into a showmance. He was just stone cold killer the whole time. What's that?
Dan hates a showmance.
Yeah, adamantly anti-showmance. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, no, I'm not going to get into showmance. That's dumb. Why would you put that kind of a target on yourself? But then I got in there, and like, it's different while you're in there. Like, if there's chemistry there, no matter whether you try to avoid it like the plague, people pick up on it, and it's unavoidable. So now, having lived through it, I look back, like Dr. Will, he did a lot of flirting. He had a showmance his first time around, and it worked out very well for him the first time around. She went like halfway through the game instead of him. And I look at it now, it's like the people that avoid showmances, do they really avoid showmances, or is there just no one in that house that's into them?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
And I do think, I was just going to say, and I do think there was an element of like, even, you know, like the house, you know, you have nothing but time in there to just like look at and talk about each other. Like, that's really all you can do in there. So I felt like there was a lot of times last season where you saw people talking about you and Becky as though you were a couple, even though you weren't, just because of, like, if you hang out with someone for even a few days, like, people start to talk about that. It's the nature of the game.
And then we like adamantly said, like, we're not hanging out anymore because people are talking about it. And then people are like, why are you two avoiding each other? Like,
yeah, right.
You can't win.
Yeah. Just following the Joker's update poll, Natalie has dipped to 7, which is a bit of a low for her. She was at 7 during the week that she was co-HOH with Michelle, but then she climbed back up a bit, up to number 3 only a couple days ago. But now she is dropping in the polls. Poll numbers are dropping, Johnny Mac.
That's not good.
Victor's been number 1 on the Joker's update poll for solid like 20 days in a row, maybe even longer.
Everyone loves Victor.
Yeah. Do you love Victor?
I mean, he's fun to watch. I mean, knowing that he's just trying to play the game honestly, I'm like, oh, that's adorable. That's not going to work, but good for you, man.
Yeah. Is he the patron saint for all of the house guests that went out and came back? Are you rooting for him to pull it off? I
guess so, because he's done it twice, right? I'm not rooting for him specifically. If he does like some really good gameplays in these next like couple evictions, which is pretty much just keep winning and evicting the right people, then I don't see a reason to not vote for him to win. Those challenges, they're built into the game just like an HOH is now, so you gotta kind of expect that. I wouldn't give him my vote just because he came back, though. No, he'd have to do something else.
Okay, then let's talk about this MacGyver veto competition, because you know, for a veto competition, which was basically a commercial, I did think that this was a pretty well put together veto competition. It was probably one of the more exciting vetoes that we've had this season. Ultimately, it came down to Corey was like some sort of idiot savant that was able to do this, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, this challenge was a little reminiscent of Big Brother Canada stuff. I felt the side scrolling almost through the challenge there. But yeah, Corey coming together with that. It's like he's been in this situation before. Maybe he,
Yeah.
I don't know, fights his way out of rooms a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you see
Yeah,
how
you might be a big
fast?
fan of Escape the Room. I think that would play. You know, it seemed to like run into a room and start grabbing at stuff, and that's probably the move. Like to see what's loose. You know what I mean? That's the move.
Yeah,
That's
there
what
can't
Jimmy
be
Mack
too much
does in his day job.
decoy.
Start jiggling on things. If it's loose, you pull it, right?
Yeah, it's got to go. Get rid of it.
No, but it really was amazing that Corey was able to get that manhole cover, and he was able to just remove it so fastly. Super ironic that Corey was going to be tested on his unscrewing abilities in the house.
Oh, snap! I see what you did there.
Yeah.
That was a
How about
good
that?
one. I wasn't ready for that one, actually. Oh, my God.
Nicely done, Rob.
Yeah. So he was able to really get through that whole thing very quickly. Super impressive. All these other guys really just were a bunch of idiots trying to get through this.
I felt so bad for Paul losing the hook. It's like, you're done, man. The hook's done. And then putting the pipe on. I mean, that might have been the best fail of the competition. I liked watching Paul's fail more than any other
Yeah,
one.
that was fun. And I did like the MacGruber type touch that they ended up doing when and somebody couldn't win, and then they just added in the MacGruber explosion, which again is really sort of mixing the media of the MacGyver and MacGruber. Like there was no actual explosions. Like there was no times where MacGyver died.
Yeah, yeah, because he has to live on for the series. But
Yeah, I feel like that they borrowed heavily from MacGruber. Like that second stage was completely like the MacGruber set, where it's like 25 seconds, MacGruber. Like like the door with like the warning sign. Like that was exactly the set for every MacGruber episode.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that set of lockers before, right?
Oh,
they seemed oddly familiar. I don't know.
Yeah, which
Maybe
kind
I'm just.
Which competition did they do that? Those lockers for you?
No, I'm just saying. Maybe there was a Saturday Night Live episode.
Oh, yeah, no, that was totally. If you watch one of those old MacGruber set, it's basically it was like, okay, let's just completely borrow from MacGruber.
Life-saving inventions out of household materials.
MacGruber.
Yeah, maybe whoever designed it, they've never actually seen MacGyver. But they're like, oh, I've seen that SNL thing.
It seems.
And how ridiculous, right? That like after losing, like they probably pulled him into the diary room, like, hey, let me rip up your shirt a little bit and put some black ash on your face. So you look like you were blown up.
It was so funny though, because I mean, even the editing was MacGruber, where they were like being like mid-sentence, where James is like, oh, I just thought all I need to do is. Yeah,
that was good.
But good job. Good job there. Also, so funny in the diary room when they talked about Corey, like was talking about how this is like, oh, this is like the third mental like, and he just like lost his train of thought. The mental competition.
Take two.
Yeah, they've done some really funny stuff with the edits this season. So kudos to the Big Brother editors who always do a good job. But they've done some really funny stuff with this cast.
Yeah, I think they realized that everyone loved when like they cut right from Meg's diary room to her faceplant last season. Like that really got a lot of play, and I think that kind of fast cut is more in play this season than it has been in the past, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, so very funny job there. Also, Nicole, when she was going through the competition, talking about how, I don't know anything technical, and my father is a mechanic, and all I know about are tools. Yeah, yeah, they say that again, Nicole. Yeah, that's right. That's all she knows about. And she was like, Corey is not going to be good in mental competition, and he's not the smartest guy in the house.
God love him.
Yeah, but she was so impressed. She's like, he's so hot on TV. Yeah, so
it's official. He's about 3 minutes smarter than Nicole right now.
Yeah. Alex, do you look at this? Is that a mental competition, the MacGyver thing? It just almost seems like it's. I feel like it's somewhere in between. Like it's not a puzzle.
Catapulting the Evictonium or whatever the hell was definitely not a mental competition, decidedly. The other things, like, I guess, the water to the I mean, that was obviously mental because we saw the people who couldn't figure it out. You know what I mean? Like James fails completely, so that was a mental challenge.
Yeah.
And then but I mean, by and large, it was more just kind of move quickly and like jiggle everything.
Yeah. Okay. It's the subtitle for the season.
When in doubt, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Johnny Mac, let's talk a little bit about the actual strategy of this week. We have these two pairs that are left in the house between Natalie and Corey, and then we have the Victor and Paul side of things. Now, Victor and Paul, we saw really talking about both ways to proceed. Ultimately, that side of the house is only going to have one vote, so maybe is a little bit of a moot point in how this vote is going to go on Thursday night. But if you were them, who would you be more likely to want to evict on Thursday night? Would you want to get rid of James or want to get rid of Natalie?
Yeah. This part of the game is tough. Like, thank God last year it was 3 versus 3, like, clearly at this point. So you knew what you were going to do. But I think for these 3 pairs, it's just you have to win. You have to win out. I don't think there is a good solution. They're going to run through every scenario in their head. There's pros and cons to both sides. And when it comes to just this decision, maybe my initial decision would have been harder, which couple to put up. But now that that's already been made, picking between these two, I don't foresee any more wall competitions coming up. So I don't see James really as being a threat in anything because he hasn't won any endurance that wasn't wall related where he could do his squat thing. Like the hanging things, he hasn't done well in those. Hasn't done well in the mental competitions. I mean, like I don't see anything at the late stages of the game that he's actually going to be good at. Whereas Natalie is starting to prove that she has some smarts up there and she could win maybe like a day's competition or – especially if they bring the shovels back. If I were in there and I'm a super fan and I'm thinking, wow, that shovels comp was awesome in 16 and it wasn't on last year, I would be suspicious of it coming back very soon. And Natalie is clearly has some great balance and she could do well at that too, So I would definitely want to get rid of Natalie.
It's a weird spot for them because you have, on the one hand, Natalie is the person who wants to get out Corey and Nicole more, but is likelier to win stuff, where James is probably less likely to win anything that's mentally a mental challenge going forward, but is probably more attached to Corey and Nicole.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, the dynamics go a different way. Like near the end here, after having been through it, I feel like the wins are the most important thing. You got to try to, especially if you're Paul and Victor, you only got one guy playing in this next HOH. You have to win it. If you don't win it, those 3 are going to put you up. Whoever's left, those 3 are going to put the 2 of you up.
Well, Alex, I'm sure we'll talk about this more when we get through the live feeds. But in terms of what we saw in the episode, did you feel like all of that was depicted fairly?
Yeah, relatively. I mean, I definitely think the bulk of the time that tonight's show covers, right, which is from nominations on Friday, which ended the last episode, up through the veto ceremony, which is Monday morning, I felt like that was pretty accurate, which is basically Natalie and James, bless them, thinking that they have some kind of say in what the outcome is this week, taking turns going up, telling people what's going to happen, and then the people who actually are making the decision giggling about how they're doing that and then ultimately saying, like, do you want to just flip a coin? So, yeah, that's pretty much the size of it.
Yeah. I mean, we also got to see a lot of the conversation between Natalie and James talking about how they got into this position. And I do think that Natalie was unfairly laying all of this at the feet of James because she was the one that wanted to evict Corey instead of Victor, but James cast his vote to evict Corey. It's almost as if everything was going to be fine if they just would have followed Natalie's advice in that spot. Johnny Mac, do you feel like that Natalie is being a bit unfair to James in that regard?
That like everything would have worked out amazing if they just listened to her.
This one little thing that James did and wouldn't listen to her, and now the games are ruined because of James.
Yeah, you can't look at that. I mean, she's saying that, but that's not the way it would happen. When you play like the what if game, you go back and you change one of your decisions. I mean, that would have caused a completely other tangent where Biff Tannen is like
yes, that's
ruler of
one
the world.
thing.
You know,
The one
so
thing
like,
is Enchantment Under the Sea dance. If James would have just evicted Corey, everything would be
yeah,
different
exactly. Like the butterfly effect is big in there. Like one decision completely changes the game. You can't say like, oh, if I did that differently, I'd be in this very similar situation now with better things in my pocket. That's not how it would have worked.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I mean, it really didn't get displayed on the show, but Natalie was really adamant that they put Victor and Paul up that week. I mean, granted, ultimately Paul comes down and Corey goes up, and then she later wanted to evict Corey. But her HOH week, you know, basically it was the fact that she was convinced that Paul was the one that made the comment, you know, calling her FTs, which refers to her implants, that somebody came up with, and we're not sure it's Paul, but she's sure it's Paul. And really, just hearing that Paul came up with that was all it took for her to not only be on board with going after those guys, but to insist that Michelle do it with her half the HOH power as well. So, you know, I'm sure it makes her feel better to throw it all on James, but, you know, she had already turned her back on Victor and Paul. The idea that if she had, like, saved Corey after that, or saved Victor after that, he would have, like, been all is forgiven is, I think, a bit of a pipe dream.
Yeah, and you guys did a good job of tracking that through on the happy hour this past week, where Natalie does have a bit of revisionist history. But Alex, do you feel like that for Natalie? Does she know what actually happened, or is she just delusional? You know,
I don't know. This season's been such a roller coaster for her, and there's been, you know, some tough stuff that she's dealt with. So with me, it keeps. This is a conversation that keeps coming, you know, keeps being had, you know, across the internet, really. And it just kind of keeps coming down to how aware is Natalie of everything. At times she seems so perceptive of what's going on in the house. Like, she's the first to pick up on anything between her and James, and maybe that's just a sign of how completely oblivious James tends to be. But Natalie at times seems very perceptive. So then at other times you're like, well, how could she not see this other thing? So I get the people that, you know, think along those lines, but I also, you know, wouldn't want to make assumptions about kind of how people are thinking, especially when they've been through, you know, like the stuff that she went through, like the Pauly stuff in the mid game is going to change your mindset for the rest of the game. You know what I mean? Like all that, like Pauly attacking her and her feeling like she had to defend herself as a woman and all that stuff like that. We've seen that, like, you can't just become, you know, you can't like have that kind of experience and not have it affect you going forward. Like the Big Brother house is like, you're a product of kind of each week building up, and we've seen great players before. I mean, I think Amanda's a perfect example, who just like things happen and stress builds and it gets to a point and you just see people kind of like no longer be the same player. They can't really reconcile or handle what they were handling before.
So for Natalie, basically somewhere on the scale of Marjorie Tyrell to Snooki, somewhere in between lies Natalie.
Yeah, I love it. Sure, let's go with it.
Yeah, she's and some things she's like somewhere she's a little bit like delusional, like about the what happened, has like this false history of events, and then also perhaps a bit manipulative in terms of how she's going to get into power.
Perhaps.
Sometimes she's hanging out in the Sept, and then other times she's hanging out at Kama.
The shore, yeah. So we'll see. All right, I want to get into some questions here with Johnny Mac. I think that Scott has a shot of the MacGruber set, which we can see. I'm telling you, this is exactly what that second part of the video looked like if you're watching us on the video version of that. I mean, it's exactly, just go a little bit to the right for the water tank where the key is, and that's basically what they did.
That's a great find.
Yeah, good work, Scott. All right, so I'll get your questions in hashtag RHAP, and then also robhasawebsite.com/YouTube. And of course, don't forget tomorrow night, our eviction show live at 10:15. All right, Caroline Bradshaw wants to know, has Natalie forgot that her gut told her not to trust Paul / target him before Jadalee decided to work with Nikori? That's a good point, that she was really the one. You know, that timeline event was Paulie was going to be voted out of the house, and he pulls Paul aside and has the conversation with Paul, Nicole, and Corey, and is like, all right, here's the plan. After this, the next people to go are James and Natalie, right? Or was it James and Victor?
It had been a few different
somebody.
People.
I forgot who the other person
was. Pretty drunk on power at that point in time. He had been throwing a lot of names around at that point.
And then Nicole runs back to Natalie and is like, oh my God, I can't believe it, that it was The Paulie said, "Won't out, James," and Natalie ran back to James like, "Oh my God, Jamesy, they're trying to get us. They're trying to. Oh, well, we got to get them out." And then that's how this whole disaster started.
I love the voices.
It's all over the place. All over the place. All right, Matt Brody, will the sympathy that James... Did we answer that last question, by the way? I get so distracted. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. We touched on that earlier. All right, Matt Brody was, will the sympathy James gained tonight ensure he joins Janelle as the only two-time America's favorite player? I mean, I think it's a lock at this point, Johnny Mac, right? I mean, who is going to beat him? Is it Nicole?
It's not Nicole. It's definitely not Nicole.
What?
It might be because, I mean...
Why?
Well, I'll tell you why, Nicole. Here's why. I think the Paul Victor love, those votes are going to get split. So neither one of them is going to have as many as they could to potentially take out James for that, you know? So I think he's got it, right?
And America did not love Paul and Victor. They had 5 opportunities to send them care packages, and they did not get one.
That's true. I don't know if I would go by that, though. Maybe America was like, no, we don't want to mess them up. I don't know. That's a weird vote to me in my head. Like,
this is the perfect spot for James to do it. I think that people feel like, okay, oh, James, he was so nice. He got his heart broken. I think that there's a perception that James needs the money, which I don't think is an incorrect perception as well. And so I think that there's a lot of people that have a warm place in their hearts for James.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to call it before tonight's episode, but I'm ready to call it
tonight. Yeah, call it. That's it. This is a done deal. The only way that this screws up is if I just jinxed him by saying it. That's the only way.
I mean, and then you know it's going to not go downhill for the Ed. It's not going to turn on him going forward because not only did the Ed choose to turn on Natalie over him tonight, but he plugged CBS's show. I mean, they couldn't have gotten a better performance from that speech if Les Moonves had his hand up James's ass and was puppeting him himself. You couldn't ask for more.
Yeah. You think that James Nation is going to all tune in for MacGyver on September 23rd?
I would.
If he gets, if CBS asks him to tweet about it, I'm sure he will do so.
Yeah.
I'd throw my visor on and watch it there, and James taught me about Crocs while I was in the house. I bought a pair of Crocs because of James.
No.
Yeah. They're awesome.
It's a movement.
I have to share also a great tweet that I got sent earlier tonight by Corey Cool, who was our guest a couple of weeks ago on the Wednesday night. And he tweeted about how for all the talk that James and Natalie do about going on The Amazing Race, they'd probably be less excited about MacGyver if they knew it took Amazing Race's time slot. So MacGyver has taken away the one thing that might be the reason that James and Natalie stay together. So thanks, MacGyver.
Oh, what the hell?
That's like cosmic stuff there.
MacGyver. Okay. All right, let's keep going. David Poe, it took about 80 days, but is James finally ready to play the game? Oh, wait, hold on. I have the real Johnny Mac here, but I have to go with
no.
Right? I mean, Johnny Mac, do you feel like, is this the thing after what now? 150 days of James playing Big Brother? Is he finally ready to take off now?
This is gonna be weird, all right? Because with all the time that we've seen James in the house, I mean, the first time he played, he was in there, maybe 20 minutes without the girl crush. So we didn't get to see a whole lot of him there. And now that's gone. What does James do when he's not pursuing the girl? So maybe he is this super strategist animal beast that's going to be out of his cage. I don't know. We're going into uncharted territory right now.
Okay, we'll see. Time is running out. 14 days, MacGruber. You better hurry. Johnny Mac, could James win a season, an all-male season of Big Brother? Could James be the winner?
I wonder.
All men.
He might be, yeah.
I think he might be.
He'd be a little underestimated.
Be underestimated, but ready to throw down.
He would go far.
Yeah,
He'd go
all
very
the
far.
alpha dogs would swing at each other. It'd be like, I don't know if you've ever seen the there's a Thanksgiving episode of South Park with a chicken or one of the turkeys, like its head hangs lower than the rest, and
Yeah.
like when they're all about to be killed for Thanksgiving dinner, like the buzzsaw comes across and like cuts off the heads of all the tall, strong turkeys, but this little turkey with its head hanging low manages to survive because it was different. So that's James, I think, and it all makes sense.
What the hell?
James
All right.
is the low turkey.
Too deep a pull there.
JP Talks BB says, if there was no juror buyback, was voting out Victor actually a bad move for Jadley's game? All right, so let's talk about this alternate scenario where nobody comes back into the game at final 7. It was going from 7 to 6, and we had 2 weeks of 7. Is that right, Alex?
Yes, that sounds right.
Okay. All right. So at that point, if that was the final 6, would that have been equally as bad, Alex?
I don't know. This season's weird. You know, it's like somebody is gonna fall bass backwards into a win here.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's going to be Corey. I really do. After tonight, I came away with the takeaway. Oh, Corey's probably going to win now, Johnny Mac.
I feel, that can happen for sure, because he's not really, I don't see anyone really going after him right now. I mean, things will change once the HOH is finally played, but he's smarter than he's let on, apparently.
There's no
athletic.
ill will to him.
No.
Yeah.
You're right. Like, no one hates Corey.
No, at this point it really is. I mean, you're splitting hairs. The guy who with no personality, or the girl that cries in the diary room about playing the game. You know, that's what Nicole did. I feel so bad about putting someone on the block at Final Five. Or the guy who's not even interested in playing the game. Or, I mean, Paul or Victor, who's got like the all the odds stacked against him, seemingly.
And Alex, run this through the simulator. Okay, so let's pretend. Okay, so if Natalie goes out on Thursday, so then Victor and Paul get the Tim and Cass treatment. They're gonna go out 5 and 4 and be like standing there like, what happened? What happened?
Should have studied.
How did we lose? How did we lose? What? Like, oh, pissed. So then we get to the final 3. And first part of the HOH, endurance, who's got that?
James or Nicole. Nicole's beaten James now in one of these.
I guess so. I guess so. But you could see James winning that, right? And then the second part of the HOH, what is it? It's like some sort of like physical.
It's usually like some kind of physical time trial that also involves a bit of memory regarding like order of HOH.
Corey's got that, right? Nicole's not going to beat him in that. Probably so then, your final HOH battle is going to be James versus Corey. I mean, it's not unthinkable that James could win that one.
Yeah. No, James could definitely win this game.
Corey
I mean, it
end.
really is. I mean, he's absolutely a candidate to win this game, and I would, it would be ridiculous. And I think in hindsight, he's got such a good edit, people would be like, was James a great winner? And I would say, no, he really wasn't.
Yeah. Johnny Mac, James, greatest Big Brother winner of all time. Do you want to be early to the party?
Plant that flag.
Possibly the best player to ever play this game.
I think so. Andy Herron had a funny tweet earlier today that I saw on the Big Brother subreddit that people posted. And that basically it was like, if James wins BB18 and I have to read articles by clueless hacks who claim he's a better winner than me, I'm moving to the moon.
And I would not blame him.
It's the year 2000, Andy. We could still find you there.
Minus 14 days till Andy heads to the moon. All right. Brad asks TV, can you please ask Johnny Mac why he didn't come back this season? Yeah, it seems like I've been getting tweets from people. Why didn't you come back and then save this season?
I'll tell you why. This is the best thing for him going forward. Like this summer without Johnny Mac has just like expanded the need for like everyone wants him back now. You know what I mean? Like the saturation's at an all-time high for the market. Like it's ready. Like when you come back,
brilliant move.
People are gonna go nuts. You'll be in rock star status.
Maybe not going back to Big Brother is a blessing in disguise. It's like I could have been in there and everyone's like, "Oh my God, he's so bad at this game. Why did they? Why didn't we have Captain Camo back on here.
It is really hard to have a second act on Big Brother. I do think that it is a thing where absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think it's almost easier to have a second act on Survivor, present company excluded. But I think that but I think that the edit can protect you. But it's like, it would be like, oh my God, Johnny, that would be the best season ever if Johnny Mac came back. And then people, watch you 24 hours a day for 95 days, and it's like, oh, I've heard all these stories before.
Yeah, expectations are too high there. I guess the good thing with Survivor is there's so many of you that you do kind of start to forget about your favorites even.
And it's 42 minutes a week.
Yeah. Yes. 42 minutes a week and 40 new people every year. Unless it's All-Stars.
Yeah, you don't,
on
you don't lose fans because people are like, John's working with that girl I hate. Like, I'm never looking at him the same way again.
Yeah, that's it. A couple of quick other things before we jump into the live feeds. News came out today about BB18. Johnny Mac, you down with OTT?
Over the top? As if there was so much Big Brother this summer, I was about filled up. But wait, we're going over the top.
So,
it's $6 a month. Yeah,
like that,
I might not see every episode, but I'll watch it.
It's like that one liquid competition with the Crisco. You just keep filling it up, and eventually it just kind of spills over. Yeah.
Over the top.
Your mental ping pong balls fall out.
Big Brother OTT. Alex, word came out. It's going to be a new house. This is like mind equals blown.
Right. All this time we had talked about it on the podcast. All this time we talked about it on the podcast. The whole point was like, yeah, well, obviously this is something they should have done a long time ago. They have this house. It's just sitting there. Why not use the house? But apparently they don't want to use the house. They're going to make a whole new house, and I'm confused.
This makes no sense to me. The whole idea, I thought, was right. They sublet the house you already have. Now that we're buying another house?
Maybe the ants have like officially fully taken over. Like maybe there's finally like bugs up in the walls. Like it's reached a point of no return. Like Terminators came by and have foreclosed on the house this summer, and they're just it's not up to health regulations.
Production area.
The ants have been terrible this year. I mean, I have seen I saw ants swarm in those MacGruber pizza boxes. It's rough.
So is it a new set or is it demolishing this house?
It premieres September 28th. How are we gonna tear down this house and build a new one so quickly?
It's gonna be like that development house in Arrested Development. Just throw up walls and let the inside just be completely bare and hope they figure it out.
I don't know how we're gonna do this, but it all kicks off 3 weeks from tonight.
What happened to the Big Brother 5 house? Is that still existing or was that torn down for something?
Oh, the one level?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question.
I don't know.
You visited that house, right, Rob? You've been to that one.
I did visit the during Big Brother 4. I got to visit the Big Brother house. It was the summer after I did Survivor. It was like the summer before Survivor All-Stars before I lost any cachet that I had. And
they're still bringing you around. Yeah.
Right. And some of the producers that I had met when I was auditioning for Big Brother 3 gave me a tour of the house, and I got to see a bunch of stuff over there during BB4.
Did it feel small or?
It's so long ago. I couldn't even tell you.
Your brother Josh was really good that season.
Yes, thank you. He's good. But real quick, so we were really within the danger zone here. 3 weeks from tonight, the premiere of 2 weeks from tonight will be the finale of BB18. 3 weeks from tonight will be the premiere of CBS or CBS All Access's BB18. I got an email today for a 1 month free coupon if you want to check it out. Catch the end of BB18 and be all set up for the start of BB-OTT. That code is Fall Access, not All Access. Fall Access, all one word. Go to our website. Go to robhasawebsite.com/live feeds to sign up. You get 1 month for free of the Fall of All Access with the promo code Fall Access. All right, let's go ahead. Let's talk about the live feeds. We got a lot to talk about still. And I think that Alex and I have a fantasy football draft in like 10 minutes, so we gotta bounce around and do a couple things. All right, All right, so let's do a live feeds coming up. Of course, eviction show will be on Thursday night, 10:15. Let's do live feeds.
The Office of Civil Defense has issued the following message. This is
A spoiler.
warning.
A spoiler.
Warning means that an actual
Spoiler.
against this country has been detected and that protective action should be taken.
Yes. All right. That's right. All right. Let's talk about the live feeds. Alex, anything doing?
Not
All right.
much. Feelings, in a
Good
word.
talk. Good talk.
All right, here's what I want to talk about. All right, so last night, I believe, there was somebody with a megaphone that came out to the current Big Brother house, correct?
Correct.
And they began saying what, Alex?
James and Nicole have a pre-game alliance.
James and Nicole have a pre-game alliance. That hasn't this been talked about in the house before?
I mean, it's something that I think has been speculated to the extent, but like what hasn't been speculated? Like Nicole is pretty sure Michelle is Dan's cousin-in-law at this point.
Yes. I am also Dan Giesling's cousin-in-law. This is Big Meech from the jury house. All the James have a deal.
You guys, it's Big Meech. Like, yeah, they're very gullible and they don't get news or information. So yeah, like anything that comes is gonna naturally be it's gonna alter perception.
Yes.
Johnny Mac, how did the house guests react to any sort of things like this? Did you guys have any moments where there was any sort of production interference? I get confused. I remember, I think BB18, I feel like that there was somebody also like with a megaphone.
We had a megaphone. Yeah. Ours was. I think it was right before Meg and James left, and it was a megaphone saying.
Megan phone.
It was a Megan phone, yeah. It was something along the lines of, at least now, number one, I couldn't really hear it that well, so now it's like a game of telephone. You're not even hearing what they're trying to tell you correctly.
Didn't work last season. No.
Yeah, it was something about Austin wants Julia out, and we thought Austin and Vanessa, something about them having an alliance, which we were like, we're kind of aware of that little alliance, and yeah, of course Austin wants Julia out of the two of them.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a game changer there.
Yeah. Alex, but do we have enough anecdotal evidence to support that James and Nicole have a final two alliance?
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not gonna say that's factual. In fact, I would go so far as to say I definitely don't think that's the case because James can't keep a secret. If it was the case, I really believe we would know definitively because James would have said something on feeds that can't be hidden. I mean, they do a pretty good job of when things get a little dicey, they just cut feeds and ask questions later. But I find it really hard to believe, as bad as James is at the secrets and all that we wouldn't have definitive knowledge if that was true.
Yeah,
however, I mean, are they were they friends? Did they both know Derek or Bully's reality or what? You know what I mean? Yes, they have probably the same social circle. They probably talked about Big Brother. They might have hung out sometime and speculated about what might happen if they were to ever play together. But that's not quite the same thing. That's not collusion,
Johnny Mac, how much smoke is there with this fire?
Yeah, I think we're all guilty as much as we rag on some people for playing a terrible game. Sometimes you give people way too much credit in your own mind, So do I really think James had enough foresight to go and make this really strong alliance with Nicole and vice versa? No. I think they just kind of were scooped up and they went and were like, all right, let's play.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they certainly seem like they're working together, but I mean that if they had a final two deal, quote unquote, that they were both really working towards, I mean, her actions of putting up or pushing for for Natalie and James to go up on the block this week when Victor came to power. I mean, it really did not seem like, I mean, you could argue that she was going to go with whoever went into power, but she wasn't lobbying to save James. I guess there's not much that she could have done, but to say that Nicole doesn't have a final two with Corey at this point, or James doesn't have a final two with Natalie, it seems super sketch.
Yeah, no, any argument I've heard that supports this is wildly speculative. I will add that it is, it is the same guy taking credit for this bullhorn instance that it was last year and pretty much every time.
As the same guy?
Yeah. At BB Toombs on Twitter is the guy that does these things.
And why would he
getting
get
in
this
there?
message?
Yeah, that's what I have no idea how he's like, it baffles me.
Yeah. I mean, if we have one message that we're sending into the house, this is it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you'd think at this point CBS would just employ one person in the summer just to like watch this guy and follow him around and make sure he doesn't come near the house.
So you want like an intern on a lawn chair just sitting there while looking for a megaphone watch? Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's like
all clear, no megaphone.
Well, my understanding is like right behind that backyard wall is the LA River, and then so you can't there's really nothing there. So I guess there's a parking lot across the LA River. So because of that distance, like the sound gets muffled. It's not a great interpretation of what gets said, but you could definitely still hear it.
Okay. All right. Then, so how did that change things in the house, Alex?
Not a lot. I mean, they talked about it. Like Paul and Victor, don't really care. They don't really believe it. And, at this point, it just seems too clear that Nicole and Corey are working together, James and Natalie. However, feeds did go down for a long time. And when feeds came back, James and Natalie were in a big fight and had apparently like thrown stuff at each other maybe. And
they threw stuff at each other?
Like that's what it sounded like to me when I heard them talking about kind of like how the fight transpired. It sounded like
a Willie Hantz type thing?
I don't think it was quite that, but it might have been like just kind of like some arbitrary like throw some pillows across the room type of. I don't know what it was. We didn't get to see it, but like it was bad, and they're definitely not a showmance anymore.
Boy, Johnny Mac, can you believe that James blew it with Natalie? They were right there. Yeah. They were gonna have this big relationship, and he blew it now.
No. I can believe that. I very can believe.
Last night, James gave Natalie 24 hours to tell him if he's single or in a relationship so he can know moving forward. Tonight, he's given her another 24 hours because she doesn't have an answer for him.
Yeah.
You know what? Ultimatums always work well.
Yeah, especially when you double down. Texas code.
Yeah, and just for the record, I mean, Natalie could, completely, she could, completely throw James under the bus. She could say, I'm never speaking to you again. She could say anything she wants to him right now. At any point following the end of Big Brother 18, if she texts, calls, emails James that he will be back like that. She does not have to worry about burning that bridge. It is an unburnable bridge.
That's the best kind of bridge.
Yes.
Modern engineering has not found that yet.
Maybe that speaks to James's problem in general. I think, I don't know who said it, but I think there's a quote about making someone a priority if you're only an option to them, and I think that applies here.
Yeah, we need to get James the book. Okay. All right. So for Thursday night, Alex, are we looking at a unanimous vote?
Yeah, like whatever happens, I'm sure it's going to be done as a group. I mean, it's going to be Natalie, it looks like, unless something drastic changes, which is good for Nicole and Corey. I mean, Natalie would consider at least working with Paul and Victor. There was some misinterpretation of something. Paul was saying something stupid over the weekend about like medieval times. Natalie misheard him, thought he was talking about her, and so that's kind of frayed that relationship a bit. So now it's not like, but Natalie would still probably work with Victor over Nicole and Corey. So it actually is really important to those guys to try to keep Natalie over James, but they're just so happy to stick with their four that they don't see it. So, yeah, I mean, it looks like a pretty much done deal. And, according to Nicole, I don't think they'd push if Victor and Paul were adamant about keeping Natalie. They might go with that. They don't seem too inclined to push, but Paul and Victor are just, like, showing no effort to make a decision whatsoever. And so Nicole and Corey are kind of like, someone should take the reins, so they're kind of like reluctantly grabbing it here, and it's really going to probably look good for them. I think Paul kind of needs to win HOH now. Yeah,
Johnny Mac, fast forward to tomorrow. If Paul doesn't win HOH, are one of the two sitting ducks going home?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
It's going to be a sad story.
Obviously. I mean, like, if I put myself in any other player's shoes there, no matter how much at this point of the game, you're kind of trying to take out threats that are going to beat you in comps because there's just so few of you there. Even if you love them, they got to go, So, I mean, Paul and Victor, if I was any one of those other three people, I would put those two up and just get one of them. I don't care which one.
And Nicole and Corey are already talking about they want the final three with James. They're not positive who they would target first, but it sounds like Nicole would want to target Paul over Victor.
Target Paul over Victor. Why? That's interesting to me. Wouldn't you want to get out Victor where you can with the fear that he's going to win competitions?
I would think so. And yeah, you would think so too, right? But I think just this idea of Paul as like this master manipulator has existed now for a couple weeks and almost kind of taken on a legend of its own where, you know, you say the guy's sneaky and then he survives the block and then he does it again and it becomes, he goes from sneaky to masterful because of a couple things compiling. You know what I mean? So Paul, I think now is like overrated within the house in terms of what he's actually able to do. And I think that's really the reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Alex, to be on the lookout for in the next 24 hours?
Just, you know, I'm surprised. You know, most of this week has been pretty disappointing and really, you know, filled with relationship drama and stuff. But I have been pretty impressed with Corey this week. Like, he has been probably the person who's had their head in the game the most this week. You know, because Victor and Paul, like, even if they're talking about the game, they're so ready to go Final Four and have something set that they're not thinking about, you know, any other moves. So, you know, Corey is the one who keeps bringing Nicole back and grounding her and reminding her that this is a game and saying all the right things. And, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, we've slept on him a lot this season, I think, but good on him.
Well, I mean, isn't Corey really the manifestation of what we've talked about for years in terms of the philosophy of how to win this game? Just go into the house, don't piss anybody off, you know, win some competitions at the end, and just be there. Just go out of your way to not piss people off for 90 some odd days, Johnny Mac.
That helps a lot. That's really all it is. I mean, you want to, like, talk about like voting for who played the best game strategically, but a lot of times the vote comes down to who do I like more out of those two, and if I absolutely hate both of them equally, then I'll go to strategy. Like, I feel like that's how most votes play out. You know?
Yeah, every season it's like, I won't vote for these 5 people. Inevitably, 2 of them are there, and 1 is like a horrible person, so you vote for the guy that blended in best with the furniture.
Yeah.
Like, Johnny, in all seriousness, who had a better summer than Corey?
No one had a better summer. Corey had Christmas all summer long.
It's Christmas all summer long.
I mean, whether it's stupidity or, you know, just relative calmness, at least, I mean, the guy is right. Like, James needs to chill out. He has no control, and he's acting like he does. Corey's been on the block a couple times, and you would never know it by the way he acts. So that's good. I mean, I don't know if it's really, like, if it should be a skill that good players have. I think you should be a little scared of being on the block, but it's worked for him.
Yep. He's made it work for him.
He's gotten to make out.
Yeah, and more. That's what I'm saying.
And more.
That is baked into this equation of best summer ever, Johnny Mac. He's had a better summer than I have. I'll tell you that right now.
If you're not making out on Christmas, it's not Christmas.
No. All right. Johnny Mac, fantastic stuff. Really a fun show tonight to talk through everything. Always love to have you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. This was fun. I'm looking forward to, you guys got your work cut out for you with a Big Brother season and a Survivor season.
Yes.
All
Johnny
fall
Mac,
long.
Are you pumped up for the millennials and the Gen Xers?
Yes, I want to see some new blood in here. And I heard one of them's really amazing, so much that they might come back in the future.
No, wait, that's speculative. That's speculative, Johnny Mac.
I'm speculating.
Yes. So are you rooting for the millennials?
Yeah, I guess they're my people.
Yes. Okay. We'll see. I tweeted earlier tonight that CBS really appealing to the Gen X side of the CBS Venn diagram with all the MacGyver promotion. There will not be one millennial watching the MacGyver, I don't believe. We'll see.
Yeah, they're like, what's this new show about? MacGyver?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a detective or something?
Yes. Can we go hashtag MacGyver for tonight?
I like it.
Okay. All good stuff. Johnny Mac, will you come back and talk about the BB18 with us?
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be fun.
Okay. Can't wait for that. Of course, Alex Kidwell, great job as well. At Alex Kidwell on Twitter. Johnny Mac, at RockstarDMD. Johnny Mac, anything else you want to check out? You still YouTubing?
I got back into it a little bit. I just been putting clips from my last Tough Mudder run up there right now. It's nothing that cool. I think tomorrow I'm putting one up where we swung off a platform and jumped into a pool of water.
Wow.
I belly flopped. Like, I have a mole on my stomach. It was purple for 3 hours afterwards.
Wow. That maybe next is going to be for you the American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, right? I could run up walls and stuff.
Okay.
It's all just prep for the next time you go back in the house, bro.
That warped wall, man. That warped wall. What,
Not if James is there. He owns wall comps.
what do you think this next HOH is going to be?
Oh, yeah, I did want to mention that. So Miss Cleo on Twitter speculated about the last one and was correct and was at taping and has speculated about this one. So given that he was correct last time, you know, could very well be correct this time. And
a good track record.
The guess was indeed the Crisco comp with the liquids, which it seems very late to be doing that.
Wow.
But if it is, I mean, I always love watching that. It's, you know, it goes on for a while. It's on the feeds. People wipe out. What's not to love?
Okay.
We're going to lose
Handicap
3
that one.
people by next Sunday.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Alex. And then what's the show schedule for these? Like, I know you and I were trading emails about it. Are we locked in yet? Because I thought that was an extra week. So we are back tomorrow night, and then Sunday night is a episode, and then are we back on? And then it's Tuesday night. Is it Tuesday and Wednesday next week? I believe that just from my Jets schedule, as I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Natalie cheerleading,
right?
That the Jets are going to play. I'll be
Thursday.
Super miserable. The Jets are going to play 2 games in 5 days, this Sunday and then again on Thursday night. So I think that we are moving the Thursday Big Brother. Is it Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week? We'll find out.
I can't find it right now.
Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Sounds right.
Yeah, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how about that?
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, that is wild. All right, so it'll be a crazy Big Brother week next week as we head towards. Then it'll just be then I believe after that. Then I think Sunday and Wednesday, and then that's it for Big Brother for the regular season, and then we'll be back with OTT coming up, and we got to figure out our schedule for how we're going to be covering all of that coming up here on the podcast. So make sure you subscribe. Go to robinswebsite.com/iTunes. Johnny Mac, anything else?
No, that's it.
Yeah.
I literally have no thoughts.
Great. Well, you did a fantastic job tonight, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much to Scott St. Pierre behind the scenes for everything, and have a good one. See you tomorrow night. Bye. Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now, here's the guy who is just about ready to see James win the America's Favorite Player this season, rightfully this time. I'm Rob Sisternill. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of Rob's Podcast. Special for a couple of reasons. One, I'm so happy to be back here in the studio. So happy to be home talking about Big Brother. We've got a great show, first show for you guys back here in the studio, because we are joined by the man who should have won America's Favorite Player last season. And here he is to talk about everything going on. Welcome, Johnny MacGyver. Johnny
nice. promoted to MacGyver status. I gotta find my way out of this room if I'm gonna claim the title, though.
Yes, Johnny
There's
Mac.
a door right there, though. I could just walk out of.
Oh boy! If you could have gotten everybody feeling bad for you last year, then maybe you could have been able to beat out James.
Yeah, I don't have any kids or anything, though. I can't. Student loans.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm so excited to have you back here on the show. Always fun to have you on to talk through everything, and a lot to discuss tonight, because I felt like this was really the night where the edit threw Natalie under the bus. That cat ladies all around the world disavow Natalie. We're sorry we gave her the slop pass. She's a horrible person. At least that's how I saw it. And of course, to help fill in all the gaps between what I know and what actually happened, Alex Kidwell is here. Alex, how are you?
Hey, Rob. It's day 85 in the Big Brother house, and for the first time all summer, it seems like we got an episode that paints Corey as some kind of person that's in the Big Brother house this summer?
Yeah, and maybe somebody's going to win the game. So
Yeah.
a lot to talk about here tonight. Of course, we're back live. Hashtag RHAP is the way to get your questions into the show, or also on our YouTube channel at robhasawebsite.com/YouTube. Of course, eviction show coming up tomorrow night. We'll talk about all that and much more, 10:15 p.m. Eastern time. First off, Johnny Mac, how have you been? How's your summer?
Summer's been awesome. I've just been working and working. And recently I went to Hearts of Reality thing down in Florida. That was fun. And then a couple weekends ago, I ran a Tough Mudder. That was a good time. So, yeah, just a little bit of everything there.
How was Hearts of Reality? I know there's probably a bunch of good stories that you can't tell us. I know that a bunch of survivors and Big Brother people go out there. Any stories you can tell us?
I mean, it's a pretty tame event. We all just got around and played Jenga, and sorry, sometimes people got a little heated in the moment there, but that's about as wild as it got.
Okay.
It's cool. You get to visit the Give Kids the World Village and actually see the families there. So what it is they bring kids with possible terminal illnesses. They don't all end terminally. A lot of them live on to have full lives, but pretty serious diseases. They bring the families down for a week to just go to Disney, stuff like that, hang out at the hotel, which is pretty nice for them. And where the reality stars came in, we just went and did an event signing for people that just wanted autographs and just to get pictures and stuff. And then all that money went to the charity. So yeah, it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, they do a great job. You can Google Hearts of Reality, Give Kids the World for more information. They always have a big event every summer, have a ton of Survivor and Big Brother and Amazing Race people out there every year. So good event, and I always hear good things about it. So Johnny Mac, all right, we got to talk about this. This was really an episode all about the downfall, the breakup of sorts between James and Natalie. And for me, I'm hoping that you can help me make sense of all this stuff, because I'm left with either one of two things with both of them. With Natalie, I'm wondering just how authentic she is and has she been with everything related to James this season, because tonight I did feel like that I don't know if I can trust her anymore, because I thought she told the biggest lie of the season here tonight in the episode when she said, when she said,
MacGyver, not only is he pretty cute, it looks like such a good show.
yeah. Not only is MacGyver cute, it's also such a good show.
I don't think she saw the show.
I don't know. Believe me, Natalie is not watching one damn second of MacGyver ever. The old one or the new one.
And how guilty is how bad is James gonna feel 10 years from now when he's like, man, I'd use my speech to advertise MacGyver.
Oh, come on, James, stop it. You're gonna use your time. They should automatically evict him using his veto speech. It's make sure you watch MacGyver Friday nights on CBS. But also, come on, James, stop it. Can you take the game seriously?
Voice just comes over, is like, there's no being a shill. You're gonna have to leave.
Yes, stop it. All right, so here's what let me go back to being serious. Okay, so for Natalie, how do I trust her when she says, okay, I want James, he's my soulmate, he's my best friend, but then at the same time is kind of throwing him under the bus, is saying to him oh yeah, I was kissing your picture before when you weren't around. I won't kiss you, but I'll kiss your picture. And also, if you work with Corey and Nicole after I get voted out, then I'll never talk to you again. Just seems like giving herself a lot of outs. And then also on the other side of things, not to, not pick on James a little bit, Johnny Mac, I have to wonder myself, is James an actor as well? Does James throw a pity party for himself in the Big Brother house when he walks around with his sad sack story of, I guess then, is he going for that? We've talked about all season long. James wants to win America's favorite player. That's winning the game for him. When Natalie is saying that she won't talk to him, is what? I can't believe it. What? You're not going to talk to me? I would never do that. It doesn't seem to me that he's going to say, okay, let me try to throw her under the bus. It just seems like that he is just trying to make everybody feel bad for him. And I don't care for this pity strategy, which is not to win the game, but is to win America's favorite player.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like James would be better suited for like Real World or like a drama show that's specifically relationship focused. Maybe The Bachelor even. Maybe he could be the next Bachelor, and he would love that. That would be his kind of show for real. Yeah, at least what we're seeing on the TV is a lot more relationship centered than actually trying to win the game. And every now and then he throws in a quick line like, "Oh, I'm here for $500,000." I heard him say that for the first time in this episode tonight. I'm like, James, really? Is that how you really feel? I'm not sure. That seemed a little forced. I'm not convinced yet.
Yeah. Well, you spent a good chunk of last summer with James. Do you feel like, is he any different this year, or is this the same exact guy that you lived with last year?
James is different this year. I mean, last year,
how?
I don't know if it's in the way you're expecting, but he is different. Like last year, he didn't really know a whole lot about the game beforehand. He had probably seen a couple seasons before going in there. I know he applied because he knew it was a reality show, and then he probably schooled himself like a lot of recruits do. And he was just kind of in there having a good time. You know, every now and then he'd try to be like dominant and win a competition to feed that male ego we all have. But this year, he seems to be more aware of what worked for him last year, if that makes sense. So he's trying to do it more. Biff Tannen is like
yes, that's
ruler of the world.
Thing.
You know, so like
and Shaman Under the Sea dance. If James would have just evicted Corey, everything
exactly. Like the butterfly effect is big in there. Like one decision completely changes the game. You can't say like, oh, if I did that differently, I'd be in this very similar situation now with better things in my pocket. That's not how it would have worked.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I mean, it really didn't get displayed on the show, but Natalie was really adamant that they put Victor and Paul up that week. I mean, granted, ultimately Paul comes down and Corey goes up, and then she later wanted to evict Corey. But her HOH week, you know, basically it was the fact that she was convinced that Paul was the one that made the comment, you know, calling her FTs, which refers to her implants, that somebody came up with, and we're not sure it's Paul, but she's sure it's Paul. And really, just hearing that Paul came up with that was all it took for her to not only be on board with going after those guys, but to insist that Michelle do it with her half the HOH power as well. So, you know, I'm sure it makes her feel better to throw it all on James, but, you know, she had already turned her back on Victor and Paul. The idea that if she had, like, saved Corey after that, or saved Victor after that, he would have, like, been all is forgiven is, I think, a bit of a pipe dream.
Yeah, and you guys did a good job of tracking that through on the Happy Hour this past week, where Natalie does have a bit of revisionist history. But Alex, do you feel like that for Natalie? Does she know what actually happened, or is she just delusional?
You know, I don't know. This season's been such a roller coaster for her, and there's been, you know, some tough stuff that she's dealt with. So with me, it keeps. This is a conversation that keeps coming, you know, keeps being had, you know, across the internet, really. And it just kind of keeps coming down to how aware is Natalie of everything. At times, she seems so perceptive of what's going on in the house. Like, she's the first to pick up on anything between her and James, and maybe that's just a sign of how completely oblivious James tends to be. But Natalie at times seems very perceptive. So then at other times, you're like, well, how could she not see this other thing? So I get the people that, you know, think along those lines, but I also, you know, wouldn't want to make assumptions about kind of how people are thinking, especially when they've been through, you know, like the stuff that she went through, like the Pauly stuff in the mid game is going to change your mindset for the rest of the game. You know what I mean? Like all that, like Pauly attacking her and her feeling like she had to defend herself as a woman and all that stuff like that. We've seen that, like, you can't just become, you know, you can't like have that kind of experience and not have it affect you going forward. Like the Big Brother house is like, you're a product of kind of each week building up, and we've seen great players before. I mean, I think Amanda's a perfect example, who just like things happen and stress builds and it gets to a point and you just see people kind of like no longer be the same player. They can't really reconcile or handle what they were handling before.
So for Natalie, basically somewhere on the scale of Marjorie Tyrell to Snooki, somewhere in between lies Natalie.
Yeah, I love it. Sure, let's go with it.
Yeah, she's And some things she's like somewhere she's a little bit like delusional, like about the what happened, has like this false history of events, and then also perhaps a bit manipulative in terms of how she's going to get into power.
Perhaps.
Sometimes she's hanging out in the Sept, and then other times she's hanging out at Kama.
The shore, yeah. So we'll see. All right, I want to get into some questions here with Johnny Mac. I think that Scott has a shot of the MacGruber set, which we can see. I'm telling you, this is exactly what that second part of the video looked like if you're watching us on the video version of that. I mean, it's exactly, just go a little bit to the right for the water tank where the key is, and that's basically what they did.
That's a great find.
Yeah, good work, Scott. All right, so I'll get your questions in hashtag RHAP, and then also robhasawebsite.com/YouTube. And of course, don't forget tomorrow night, our eviction show live at 10:15. All right, Caroline Bradshaw wants to know, has Natalie forgot that her gut told her not to trust Paul / target him before Jadalee decided to work with Nikori? That's a good point, that she was really the one. You know, that timeline event was Paulie was going to be voted out of the house, and he pulls Paul aside and has the conversation with Paul, Nicole, and Corey, and is like, all right, here's the plan. After this, the next people to go are James and Natalie, right? Or was it James and Victor?
It
was
been a
James
few
and
different
somebody.
people.
I forgot who the
Paulie
other person was.
Pretty drunk on power at that point in time. He had been throwing a lot of names around at that point.
And then
He felt
Nicole
safe.
runs back to Natalie and is like, oh my God, I can't believe it that it was Paulie said vote out James. And Natalie ran back to James like, oh my God, Jamesy, they're trying to get us. They're trying to, well, we got to get them out. And then that's how this whole disaster started.
I love the voices.
It's all over the place. All over the place. All right, Matt Brody, will the sympathy that James... Did we answer that last question, by the way? I get so distracted. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. We touched on that earlier. All right, Matt Brody was, will the sympathy James gained tonight ensure he joins Janelle as the only two-time America's favorite player? I mean, I think it's a lock at this point, Johnny Mac, right? I mean, who is going to beat him? Is it Nicole?
It's not Nicole. It's definitely not Nicole.
What?
It might be because, I mean...
Why?
Well, I'll tell you why, Nicole. Here's why. I think the Paul Victor love, those votes are going to get split. So neither one of them is going to have as many as they could to potentially take out James for that, you know? So I think he's got it, right?
And America did not love Paul and Victor. They had 5 opportunities to send them care packages, and they did not get one.
That's true. I don't know if I would go by that, though. Maybe America was like, no, we don't want to mess them up. I don't know. That's a weird vote to me in my head. Like,
this is the perfect spot for James to do it. I think that people feel like, okay, oh, James, he was so nice. He got his heart broken. I think that there's a perception that James needs the money, which I don't think is an incorrect perception as well. And so I think that there's a lot of people that have a warm place in their hearts for James.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to call it before tonight's episode, but I'm ready to call it
tonight. Yeah, call it. That's it. This is a done deal. The only way that this screws up is if I just jinxed him by saying it. That's the only way.
I mean, and then you know it's going to not go downhill for the edit's not going to turn on him going forward, because not only did the edit choose to turn on Natalie over him tonight, but he plugged CBS's show. I mean, they couldn't have gotten a better performance from that speech if Les Moonves had his hand up James's ass and was puppeting him himself. You couldn't ask for more.
Yeah. You think that James Nation is going to all tune in for MacGyver on September 23rd?
I would.
If he gets, if CBS asks him to tweet about it, I'm sure he will do so.
Yeah.
I'd throw my visor on and watch it there, and James taught me about Crocs while I was in the house. I bought a pair of Crocs because of James.
No.
Yeah. They're awesome.
It's a movement.
I have to share also a great tweet that I got sent earlier tonight by Corey Cool, who was our guest a couple of weeks ago on the Wednesday night. And he tweeted about how for all the talk that James and Natalie do about going on The Amazing Race, they'd probably be less excited about MacGyver if they knew it took Amazing Race's time slot. So MacGyver has taken away the one thing that might be the reason that James and Natalie stay together. So thanks, MacGyver.
Oh, what the hell?
That's like cosmic stuff there.
MacGyver. Okay. All right, let's keep going. David Poe, it took about 80 days, but is James finally ready to play the game? Oh, wait, hold on. I have the real Johnny Mac here, but I have to go with
No!
Under the covers or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, you know,
Look,
it's not real.
This is the smoking gun.
MacGyver, not only is he pretty cute, it looks like such a good show.
Yes.
I will say, like, let me just add in fairness that, you know, and again, it's maybe as much playing devil's advocate as anything, but I feel like I'm going to be doing that a lot tonight because, like I said, like, everything is pro James right now. So, like, now I feel like I have to kind of balance the scales a bit. But, like, it's very possible that Natalie was at least somewhat attractive to James initially. You know, like, even if just, like, you know, I want to explore this thing and see what it is.
He lost her.
Like, once you start the America's Care Package stuff, why would she go in the diary room and talk about how she's playing the guy that everyone thinks is America's sweetheart? You know what I mean? Like, you almost can't at that point. You're almost stuck in a position where, like, oh, well, this is working for me. She got the first care package. Like, that's the problem with these care packages and these twists that are, like, fan voted on. It's like it creates an added, like, fourth layer to the game where now you have to think about what people are thinking about you thinking. You know, it's just too much.
Yeah,
man.
but that's such a perfect storm, and you make valid points there. But you'd have to. You basically what you're trying to triangulate is that she did have feelings for James, and then there came a point that the America's Care Package started. She got reassurance that James was a very popular player in the house. She was also popular in the house. Then at some time after that, she fell out of favor or she fell out of love with James somewhere along the way. I mean, that is a very specific yet not impossible timeline of events.
Yeah, yeah. And then also, you know, I've even been critical of the complete lack of physical relationship, but honestly, like, she is on national television, you know, like maybe that's just something she adamantly decided she wasn't going to do. I mean, we don't know we do know that her and Victor were cuddling the first week, but we don't know what that looked like because we didn't have feet. So that's a bit of a big kind of foggy area in all this, I think.
I present to you Exhibit B. The woman was a professional cheerleader for the New York Jets. It's impossible to muster up real enthusiasm for this organization. That is impossible. You have to be a phony baloney to be a cheerleader for the New York Jets, Johnny Mac. There's very little to cheer about.
They have a cool name.
New York Jets?
Crew, right?
Yeah, the flight crew. That's right.
Yeah, they're the flight crew.
Very tough to muster actual enthusiasm.
I'll have to concede that point to you, Rob. You would definitely know better than me.
She's like, wow, these Jets look as good as this new MacGyver that's coming out. I can't wait to see both of them this fall on CBS. Wow.
Jets and MacGyver.
Yeah.
All season long.
Yes, wow. The Jets are going to be on this upcoming Thursday, and then MacGyver next Friday on CBS. Wow.
That's right.
No, but again, I'm rooting for the person to be a player to win the game. So we'll see. Johnny Mac, I'd love to know from you that I know you put a lot of forethought into how you were going to play coming into the game. The idea of a showmance, was that something that you said to yourself that I'm never going to even explore that, even if there's somebody in the house that I like, or is it something that it just didn't come up in Big Brother 17, but hypothetically you might be open to?
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways to look at it there. I mean, it's been used well, and avoiding it has been used well. Going into the game, I was like, some of my favorite players were like Dan, you know, and Dan never got into a showmance. He was just stone cold killer the whole time. What's that?
Dan hates a showmance.
Yeah, adamantly anti-showmance. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, no, I'm not going to get into showmance. That's dumb. Why would you put that kind of a target on yourself? But then I got in there, and like, it's different while you're in there. Like, if there's chemistry there, no matter whether you try to avoid it like the plague, people pick up on it, and it's unavoidable. So now, having lived through it, I look back, like Dr. Will, he did a lot of flirting. He had a showmance his first time around, and it worked out very well for him the first time around. She went like halfway through the game instead of him. And I look at it now, it's like the people that avoid showmances, do they really avoid showmances, or is there just no one in that house that's into them?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
And I do think, well, I was just going to say, and I do think there was an element of, like, even, you know, like the house, you know, you have nothing but time in there to just, like, look at and talk about each other. Like, that's really all you can do in there. So I felt like there was a lot of times last season where you saw people talking about you and Becky as though you were a couple, even though you weren't, just because of, like, if you hang out with someone for even a few days, like, people start to talk about that. It's, I mean, it's just, it's the nature of the game.
And then we, like, adamantly said, like, we're not hanging out anymore because people are talking about it. And then people are like, why are you two avoiding each other? Like,
yeah, right.
You can't win.
Yeah. Just following the Joker's update poll, Natalie has dipped to 7, which is a bit of a low for her. She was at 7 during the week that she was co-HOH with Michelle, but then she climbed back up a bit, up to number 3 only a couple days ago. But now she is dropping in the polls. Poll numbers are dropping, Johnny Mac.
That's not good.
Victor's been number 1 on the Joker's update poll for a solid, like, 20 days in a row, maybe even longer.
Everyone loves Victor.
Yeah. Do you love Victor?
I mean, he's fun to watch. I mean, knowing that he's just trying to play the game honestly, I'm like, oh, that's adorable. That's not going to work, but good for you, man.
Yeah. Is he the patron saint for all of the house guests that went out and came back? Are you rooting for him to pull it off? I
guess so, because he's done it twice, right? I'm not rooting for him specifically. If he does, like, some really good gameplays in these next, like, couple evictions, which is pretty much just keep winning and evicting the right people, then I don't see a reason to not vote for him to win. Those challenges, they're built into the game just like an HOH is now, so you gotta kind of expect that. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't give him my vote just because he came back, though. No, he'd have to do something else.
Okay, then let's talk about this MacGyver veto competition, because, you know, for a veto competition, which was basically a commercial, I did think that this was a pretty well put together veto competition. It was probably one of the more exciting vetoes that we've had this season. Ultimately, it came down to Corey was like some sort of idiot savant that was able to do this, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, this challenge was a little reminiscent of Big Brother Canada stuff, I felt. The side-scrolling almost through the challenge there. Yeah, Corey coming together with that, it's like he's been in this situation before. Maybe he, I don't know, fights his way out of rooms a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you see how
you might be a big fan of Escape the Room. I think that would play. You know, he did seem to, like, run into a room and start grabbing at stuff, and that's probably the move. Like, to see what's loose. You know what I mean? That's the move.
Yeah,
that's what Johnny Mac does in his day job.
Decoy.
Start jiggling on things. If it's loose, you pull it, right?
It's got to go. Get rid of it.
No, but it really was amazing that Corey was able to get that manhole cover, and he was able to just remove it so fastly. Super ironic that Corey was going to be tested on his unscrewing abilities in the house.
Oh, snap! I see what you did there.
Yeah.
That was a good one. I wasn't ready for that one, actually. Oh, my God.
Nicely done, Rob.
Yeah. So he was able to really get through that whole thing very quickly. Super impressive. All these other guys really just were a bunch of idiots trying to get through this.
I felt so bad for Paul losing, and that's the difference. It's just like he's aware of how he was not aware last year.
Yeah.
Double down.
Sense?
That's Texas code. Double down.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he did pick something up last summer that it seemed like he's almost trying to run the Clelly playbook in that, hey, I'm up on the block. Let me take the fall on the sword for my in-the-house relationship. Let me quit the game right now. Did you feel like in your mind, was James trying to quit to save Natalie?
Oh, he was success kidding so hard at that point. He was like, yes, oh man, America's loving this right
Yeah.
now. In the back of his head.
What does he want? I don't know what his intention to say, okay, I'm going to look chivalrous in the eyes of America, and then I will clinch winning America's favorite player if I do this? Or is he so love struck that, okay, Natalie is telling him that we'll be together after the show, and does he actually feel bad? Or I'm not going to say the third thing where it's actually where he thinks it's good strategy. So it's either he's trying to play America to vote for him for America's favorite player, and okay, pity me because I'm such a sad sack, good guy, or is it that he is completely just a puppy dog to Natalie and wants just her to go on, and because he quote unquote feels bad about the decision to keep Corey in the house?
I want to say it's a little bit of both. I don't know if it would be 100% one way, because like if you look at it, if he knew 100% that what he was saying was getting him in trouble with America, he wouldn't be saying it. So he knows that at least in his mind, he feels like it's going to make him look good.
Well, how do you mean getting him in trouble with America?
Like, okay, like said, everyone knows saying something completely racist on there is going to get you in trouble with America. He knows you avoid saying that kind of stuff.
That's so bad.
Like,
very frowned upon.
If there was like an alternate negative universe where saying these kinds of things was just going to get you a bad portrayal, I don't think he would be saying them.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, like James probably wants a lady, or like really bad, like more than he wants the money, and that's probably something he really wants. He probably wants the girl more than the money. So I think that's legit.
James does love the ladies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Alex, can you help fill in some of the gaps in the show from tonight? How fairly do you feel like things were depicted in the James and Natalie saga?
Not particularly fairly. There was really 3 ways they could have gone with this, and none of them were going to be accurate. They could have tried to pretend that, there's nothing wrong here, or they were going to, bury one of them, basically, because this thing has kind of begun to fall apart a little bit, and it's definitely on both sides. Like, they're definitely both doing things that could be shown in an edit to make them look unfavorable. They just chose Natalie's. They chose to show Natalie saying, I'll never work with you again or I'll never talk to you again if you work with Nicole and Corey. They didn't show her like coming afterwards and saying how sorry she was and how that's not something she ever wanted to say, and it was the heat of the moment and she didn't mean it. And also they don't show, like James, like, let me tell you what James's classic move is. James will like get in like something that you can't even really call a fight with Natalie. Like they have like a minor disagreement, and he'll like just kind of like emo passive aggressively like walk out of the room, and he'll say to Victor like, oh, me and Natalie are fighting right now, and then he'll say to Paul like, oh, Natalie and I are in a fight, and then he'll tell Nicole and Corey like, hey, Natalie and I are fighting, and then he'll go back to Natalie and say like,
women,
everyone in the house can feel the weird vibe in here. It's like, no, they can't. You just told them there was a problem. They had no clue and they didn't care. It's so ridiculous.
Fake relationship, right?
James, like he does it to himself. I'm sorry. There's a lot of this that like, and there's a lot of just like passive aggressive needling that they don't show, where he's just like saying things like, will we still be friends after this? Like, will you even talk to me? Like, just questioning her a lot this week, and you can tell it comes from a place of insecurity. But it's like, dude, if you want a relationship to work, you can't like bring your baggage from the last time you got burned to the table, right?
Yeah. To be fair, though, most of my conversations with my wife are you mad? Are you mad at me? Are you still talking to me? Are we are we still friends right now?
I mean, yeah,
you're committed at that point.
Yeah.
There's a degree of damage control to be done and all that, but like, like in this situation, like he takes it too far. It's really all the time, and it's not like. You don't see it being particularly healthy from either side. So, like, I'm going to end up probably sounding very pro-Natalie tonight just because the edit really buried her, and it really is something that could have gone either way, in my estimation.
Yeah, Johnny Mac, how much of the feeds do you get to see?
Not that often. Not recently in the past couple weeks because I've just been busy with a lot of things. But like towards the beginning, I was. seeing a lot of it. Towards the beginning, I was watching a lot when there were a lot of people in the house, and so I saw their relationship a bit back then, but not so much the recent weeks.
Yeah.
Well, the recent weeks have been, like basically this past week, like the story of the season is like James and Natalie, or James at least catches feelings, and then there's no feelings, and now there's feelings again, and how do we feel about these feelings?
Yeah. And I'm also pro Natalie in all of these discussions because I feel like at least she's trying to win the game. Like, I don't care who she dates after the show is over or what happens with the relationship when they're out of the house. I'll leave that for other people to worry about, whether or not they'll get a reality show or go on The Amazing Race or anything that potentially could happen outside the game. But at least Natalie is like trying to pull out all the stops, and I like that.
Yeah, she went and threw him under the bus, which is good gameplay. If you want to say, I mean, it kind of didn't work for her. It actually got them all a little bit more paranoid of her that she's actually trying to play over James. But at least she had the right idea.
Yeah.
This conversation is a good moment to really touch on here, because this is like a microcosm to me of where like there's such a conundrum surrounding Natalie in the greater Big Brother community. Like, is she manipulating and playing James and being conniving versus like, is she just like an innocent girl caught up in a game? And obviously, like, everyone's got an opinion on it, and the real answer is surely somewhere in between, like with all things. But it is, it's moments like these where, she did go up and say these things, and then later she'll have a conversation with James, and say, like, I have never thrown your name under the bus. If I did, I'm sorry, but I've never done that. And, people wonder, like, is she just saying that versus, like, maybe she really doesn't remember? You know what I mean? It's really hard to know something like that for sure.
My big issue with Natalie is that I think that she is a better game player than we gave her credit for initially. My issue is always when people lie in the diary room. I think she's a big phony baloney in the diary room, and I think she's lying to us about her feelings for James. She sort of leads us on and leads James on, but I don't have an issue with her leading James on if she'd be honest with us in the diary room about, like, look, James is, a nice guy, good friend, but that's it. That's it. Come on now. Stop it. But James, she's like, oh, I kissed your picture. And is like, okay, oh yeah, you're my soulmate and stuff like that. And then tries to throw out all these other things with like, okay, well, if I was gonna date you, but then because you didn't do X, Y, Z, now we can't date, and it's your fault that this happened. Otherwise, I was totally willing to do it. She's just not honest with us, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, it's definitely because, like, you look at every other showmance that happened this season and what they've done in the house versus what James and Natalie have done. They haven't even, like, made out the hook. It's like, you're done, man. The hook's done. And then putting the pipe on. I mean, that might have been the best fail of the competition. I liked watching Paul's fail more than any other one.
That was fun. And I did like the MacGruber type touch that they ended up doing when and somebody couldn't win, and then they just added in the MacGruber explosion, which again is really sort of mixing the media of the MacGyver and MacGruber. Like, there was no actual explosions. Like, there was no times where MacGyver died.
Yeah, because he has to live on for the series. But
I also feel like that they borrowed heavily from MacGruber. Like, that second stage was completely like the MacGruber set, where it's like 25 seconds, MacGruber. Like, like the door with like the warning sign. Like, that was exactly the set for every MacGruber episode.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that set of lockers before, right?
Oh,
they seemed oddly familiar. I don't know.
Yeah,
Which
competition did they do that? Those lockers for you?
No, I'm just saying maybe there was a Saturday Night Live.
Oh, no, that was totally. If you watch one of those old MacGruber set, it's basically it was like, okay, let's just completely borrow from MacGruber.
Life-saving inventions out of household materials.
MacGruber.
Yeah, maybe whoever designed it, they've never actually seen MacGyver. But they're like, oh, I've seen that SNL thing. Let's do that.
And how ridiculous, right? That, like, after losing, like, they probably pulled him into the diary room, like, hey, let me rip up your shirt a little bit and put some black ash on your face so you look like you were blown up.
It was so funny, though, because even the editing was MacGruber, where they were, like, being, like, mid-sentence, where James is like, oh, I just thought all I need to do is... Yeah.
That was good.
But good job. Good job there. Also, so funny in the diary room when they talked about Corey, like was talking about how this is like, oh, this is like the third mental like, and he just like lost his train of thought. When he the mental competition.
Take two.
Yeah, they've done some really funny stuff with the edits this season. So kudos to the Big Brother editors who always do a good job. But they've done some really funny stuff with this cast.
Yeah, I think they realized that everyone loved when like they cut right from Meg's diary room to her faceplant last season. Like that really got a lot of play, and I think that kind of fast cut is more in play this season than it has been in the past, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, so very funny job there. Also, Nicole, when she was going through the competition, talking about how, I don't know anything technical, and my father is a mechanic. All I know about are tools. Yeah, yeah. They say that again, Nicole. Yeah, that's right. That's all she knows about. And she was like, Corey is not going to be good in mental competition, and he's not the smartest guy in the house.
God love him.
Yeah, but she was so impressed. Like, he's so hot on TV. Yeah, so
it's official. He's about 3 minutes smarter than Nicole right now.
Yeah. Alex, do you look at this? Is that a mental competition, the MacGyver thing? It just almost seems like it's. I feel like it's somewhere in between. Like it's not a puzzle.
Catapulting the Evictonium or whatever the hell was definitely not a mental competition, decidedly. The other things, like, I guess, the water to the. I mean, that was obviously mental because we saw the people who couldn't figure it out. You know what I mean? Like James fails completely, so that was a mental challenge.
Yeah.
And then but I mean, by and large, it was more just kind of move quickly and like jiggle everything.
Yeah. Okay. It's the subtitle for the season.
When in doubt, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Johnny Mac, let's talk a little bit about the actual strategy of this week. We have these two pairs that are left in the house between Natalie and Corey, and then we have the Victor and Paul side of things. Now, Victor and Paul, we saw really talking about both ways to proceed. Ultimately, that side of the house is only going to have one vote, so maybe is a little bit of a moot point in how this vote is going to go on Thursday night. But if you were them, who would you be more likely to want to evict on Thursday night? Would you want to get rid of James or want to get rid of Natalie?
Yeah. This part of the game is tough. Like, thank God last year it was 3 versus 3, like, clearly at this point. So you knew what you were going to do. But I think for these 3 pairs, it's just you have to win. You have to win out. I don't think there is a good solution. They're going to run through every scenario in their head. There's pros and cons to both sides. And when it comes to just this decision, maybe my initial decision would have been harder, which couple to put up. But now that that's already been made, picking between these two, I don't foresee any more wall competitions coming up. Mm-hmm. So I don't see James really as being a threat in anything because he hasn't won any endurance that wasn't wall related where he could do his squat thing. Like the hanging things, he hasn't done well in those. Hasn't done well in the mental competitions. I mean, like, I don't see anything at the late stages of the game that he's actually going to be good at. Whereas Natalie is starting to prove that she has some smarts up there and she could win maybe like a day's competition, or especially if they bring the shovels back. If I were in there and I'm a super fan and I'm thinking, wow, that shovels comp was awesome in 16 and it wasn't on last year, I would be suspicious of it coming back very soon. And Natalie is clearly has some great balance and she could do well at that too, So I would definitely want to get rid of Natalie.
It's a weird spot for them because you have, on the one hand, Natalie is the person who wants to get out Corey and Nicole more, but is likelier to win stuff, where James is probably less likely to win anything that's mentally a mental challenge going forward, but is probably more attached to Corey and Nicole.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, the dynamics go a different way. Like near the end here, after having been through it, I feel like the wins are the most important thing. You got to try to, especially if you're Paul and Victor, you only got one guy playing in this next HOH. You have to win it. If you don't win it, those 3 are going to put you up, whoever's left. those three are going to
Yeah.
put the two of you up.
Well, Alex, I'm sure we'll talk about this more when we get through the live feeds. But in terms of what we saw in the episode, did you feel like all of that was depicted fairly?
Yeah, relatively. I mean, I definitely think the bulk of the time that tonight's show covers, right, which is from nominations on Friday, which ended the last episode, up through the veto ceremony, which is Monday morning. I felt like that was pretty accurate, which is basically Natalie and James, bless them, thinking that they have some kind of say in what the outcome is this week, taking turns going up, telling people what's going to happen, and then the people who actually are making the decision giggling about how they're doing that, and then ultimately saying, like, do you want to just flip a coin? So, yeah, that's pretty much the size of it.
Yeah. We also got to see a lot of the conversation between Natalie and James talking about how they got into this position. And I do think that Natalie was unfairly laying all of this at the feet of James because she was the one that wanted to evict Corey instead of Victor, but James cast his vote to evict Corey. It's almost as if everything was going to be fine if they just would have followed Natalie's advice in that spot. Johnny Mac, do you feel like that Natalie is being a bit unfair to James in that regard?
That like everything would have worked out amazing if they just listened to her.
This one little thing that James did and wouldn't listen to her, and now the games are ruined because of James.
Yeah, you can't look at that. I mean, she's saying that, but that's not the way it would happen. When you play like the what if game, you go back and you change one of your decisions. I mean, that would have caused a completely other tangent where